you've been grabbing the wrong one. And it's probably costing you flavor, ruining your baking, or at the very least, leaving you confused every single time you open the fridge. Butter or margarine? They're both yellow, both spreadable, both sitting there in nearly identical packaging. One costs twice as much as the other. But does that actually mean it's better? There's a straight line from Napoleon III's army to the yellow tub in your fridge right now. And once you know the story, you'll never look at margarine the same way. Most people use them interchangeably and have no idea they're fundamentally different products. One is food that's been around for 4,000 years. The other is a science experiment from 1869 designed to trick your taste buds. So what's really going on here? Let's break it down in today's video. Both butter and margarine are yellow, spreadable fats that do similar jobs. They melt on toast, work in recipes, and sit in the same grocery store aisle. For a lot of home cooks, they're completely interchangeable. And honestly, that confusion makes sense because margarine was specifically engineered to imitate butter. When French chemist Hippolyte Mege created margarine in 1869, he was solving a very specific problem. Napoleon III needed a cheap, shelf-stable butter substitute to feed his army. Butter was expensive and spoiled quickly. So Mege engineered something that looked, tasted, and behaved like butter, but could survive a military campaign. He succeeded well enough that we're still confused over a century and a half later. But here's where everything changes. The difference comes down to one thing: what they're actually made from. Butter is cream from a cow, churned until it thickens. That's it. One ingredient: animal fat. Margarine is vegetable oil that's been chemically altered to act like butter. Plant fat, processed in a factory. Butter is what cows made. Margarine is what chemists made to fool you into thinking it's butter. Everything else, the taste, the texture, how they perform in your kitchen, all flows from this single fact. So how do you turn cream into butter versus turning oil into margarine? For butter, the process is almost embarrassingly simple. Cream gets separated from milk, then churned or agitated until the fat globs stick together. Drain off the liquid, add some salt if you want, and you're done. 80% milk fat, 20% water. It's the same method humans have used for thousands of years. You could make butter in your kitchen right now if you had heavy cream in 10 minutes. Margarine? Completely different story. It starts as liquid vegetable oil, soybean or canola or palm. That oil has to be hydrogenated, which means adding hydrogen molecules to turn it from liquid into solid. Then you need emulsifiers, so the oil and water bind together instead of separating. Then colorants, usually annatto or beta-carotene, because vegetable oil is clear and people expect butter to be yellow. Then flavorings to mimic that creamy butter taste. The final product is still about 80% fat and 20% water, but it took a laboratory to get there. Pick up butter, and the ingredient list says cream, maybe salt. Pick up margarine, and you're reading a chemistry formula with 10+ ingredients. These differences create products that look similar but behave totally differently. Butter melts at 90 to 95 degrees, right around body temperature, which is why it literally melts in your mouth. Margarine's melting point varies wildly depending on how it was formulated, anywhere from 90 to 110 degrees. Butter is firm when cold, softens at room temperature. Margarine often stays softer in the fridge, which some people love for spreading. Butter's yellow color is natural, from the grass and flowers cows eat. Margarine's color is artificial, added to make it look like something it's not. But here's what actually matters when you're cooking. Butter tastes like butter, rich and creamy with a slight sweetness. That's a flavor people recognize instantly. Margarine tastes like, well, not much. It's milder, sometimes described as neutral, and if you have a sensitive palate, it can taste processed or oily. In a blind taste test, butter wins almost every time. But the real difference shows up when you apply heat. Butter contains milk solids that caramelize when heated, creating that gorgeous golden brown color and nutty aroma. Think of a perfectly sautéed mushroom or a golden pancake. That's butter's milk solids doing their thing. Margarine doesn't have milk solids, so it doesn't brown. It just makes things greasy. And here's the kicker. Those same milk solids are what create flaky layers in croissants and pie crusts. Try making a croissant with margarine, and you'll get something denser, less delicate. It's not the same product. So, when should you actually use each one? Butter is your go-to for baking, especially anything where flavor matters. Cookies, cakes, pastries, they all taste better with butter. Use it for sautéing when you want that golden color. Use it to finish sauces where its richness shines. Use it on breakfast toast where you're tasting it directly. If a recipe was written before 1970, it almost certainly assumes you're using butter. Margarine works when you need something that spreads easily. Unlike butter, which gets rock hard in the fridge, many margarines stay soft enough to spread on toast without tearing the bread. It's useful when you're on a budget since it costs less. It's essential if you're vegan or lactose intolerant since it contains no dairy. And some margarine formulations can handle higher heat without burning, which makes them better for things like high-temperature frying. If you're making something where the spread is buried under other flavors, margarine will do the job. But can you swap them? Technically, yes. They have similar fat and water ratios, so the proportions work out. Should you swap them? That's trickier. If you use margarine instead of butter, you'll save money but sacrifice flavor. Your cookies might spread more, your cakes might come out denser, your sautéed vegetables won't get that golden brown crust. If you use butter instead of margarine, you'll usually upgrade the flavor, though things might come out slightly richer or greasier. And obviously, if you're vegan, butter isn't an option. The ratio is 1-to-1, but expect different results. If a recipe specifically calls for butter, especially in traditional baking, there's usually a good reason. Now let's clear up some myths. People think margarine is healthier. For decades, that's what we were told. But here's the truth. Old margarine formulations had trans fats that were worse for your heart than butter ever was. Modern margarine has mostly eliminated trans fats, but that doesn't make it health food. Both have about 100 calories per tablespoon. Another myth, they're basically the same thing. No, one is dairy, one is engineered oil. Some people say butter is always superior, but if you can't have dairy, that's meaningless to you. And here's one that trips people up. Spreads like Country Crock aren't even margarine. They're vegetable oil spreads with lower fat content. Different category entirely. So here's the bottom line. Butter is cream from cows, churned the same way for 4,000 years. 1 or 2 ingredients, rich flavor, real food. Margarine is vegetable oil, chemically transformed in a factory to act like butter. 10+ ingredients, engineered product. Which one's better? Depends what you need. Want flavor? Butter, every time. Need dairy-free? Margarine's your only choice. Baking something special? Butter. Making a quick weeknight dinner? Either works. The key is you now know what you're actually buying. Next time you're staring at those yellow packages, you'll know exactly which one to grab and why. So, which camp are you in? Team butter or team margarine? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.